Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Red Devils Den podcast. This is the fourth episode of the podcast where we talk all things Manchester United. We're coming off an interesting game, 0-0. Personally, I thought we were a slightly better team. A couple of missed chances, but could have gone either way. So, United Resurgent, what was your thoughts on it? Because it was interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought that it was a game of. It was one of those games where we could have won or drawn. I wouldn't say it was unfair for us to drop points here. The first half, I thought we were definitely the better team. Second half, though, at the start, Arsenal really came at us and created a lot of good opportunities. So I think they were probably edge of the second half. So between the two, it was kind of a game of two halves, and I felt as though a draw was appropriate, but it wouldn't have shocked me if we had won 1-0 had Cavani converted one of his chances or Rashford not taken 7 touches.
No, Josh, what was your thoughts? Because there's a lot of we've obviously had a lot of games against the top six this season, and I wanted to ask, like, we've drawn a lot of them 0-0. So do you think it's like maybe is it just missing chances or is it something else?
I think you have to analyse each game on its own. And each game was in a different moment. So when we played Chelsea, they were conceding a lot of goals and they completely changed the way they approached games when they played us. So it was 0-0 because we really cancelled each other out and we were also in a difficult moment. We needed to pick up points. That was probably tainted the week after when we lost to Arsenal 1-0 at Old Trafford. Again, that was a really difficult game where Arsenal defended in our half. Basically, we couldn't break out. We didn't pass very well. Then the 0-0 against City. You know, Guardiola has never been a defensive manager, but he completely changed his approach when he came to Old Trafford. And we just come up back off the Leipzig defeat, so we needed a result we couldn't afford to lose, and that gave us a great platform to go into the Christmas period. The Liverpool game, again, on its own, no one really goes to Anfield and wins except from Burnley. We had chances to win that game. I can't really remember any City chances, to be fair, to win that game. But and then yesterday we had a higher XG, which people have seemed to have forgot about when analysing the game. But I think we've had chances to win all of them games, but I don't think we've deserved to win any of them, really.
That's really interesting, what you just said about one after the Leipzig game, how we needed, not to lose. So that makes me feel bollocks. That makes me think, with the squad so desperate to not lose 2 games in a row that they didn't want to go for the win. Because if that's 2 games in a row, which that has happened, was it more about securing, not another loss, 2 on the trot, or, it could be a mental thing where they're like, oh shit, we lost 1, we can't afford to lose another one. That's happened, 2 games.
I remember saying at the time where I was like, it was just before the City game, and I was like, I said, I'd rather beat Leipzig and lose to City at the time because I really wanted to obviously go through to the next round. But the City game, obviously we can say something different now because we went on a great run after that result. But yeah, it's probably too scared to lose another game, to be fair.
Well, it's just like the mood around United, it changes like instant, doesn't it? I mean, after one loss, it doesn't matter how much of an unbeaten run you can go on. It's like even after the Sheffield United game the other day, we didn't lose for 13, 14 games. And then you go online and it's as if we're in a relegation battle and everyone's calling the man players head. So this fan base is so bipolar and so sensitive that any draw loss is the worst thing in the world.
We should be used to it by now. It's happened a lot for the last 7 years, 8 years.
Yeah.
I think the thing that people are forgetting as well in the big games is we've completely changed our approach to them. Whereas before we were pretty much exclusively playing on the counter attack. We're now changing. We're going toe to toe with them, and that change takes time. Like now, teams are sitting back against us. They're not giving us the space we had before. We're trying to learn a new dynamic of how to break these teams down that we didn't have to before.
Yeah,
That's very true.
that is another thing as well, because obviously last season, like you say, we were sort of strictly a counter-attacking team against the big clubs, and we was able to hit them on the break well. But obviously this season, clubs have changed the way that they've set up against us. They're playing us like we're a good attacking side now, rather than us exclusively soaking up pressure and then hitting them quick. They've sort of cottoned onto that. So like you said, we do need to learn how to break these teams down when they do set up like that against us.
Like that 0-0 against Chelsea, they turned up for that 0-0. There was never when you saw how they played, it was never going to be anything other than that. They turned up for that result, and they weren't doing that before. Teams were going at us and they gave us space, and we often tore them apart on the counter. And they're afraid of that now, so they don't give us the chance.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It speaks to the hypocrisy of the Twitter fan base that last season, when we were winning these matches against the top 6 sides on the counterattack, people were saying, no, that's not the right tactical approach. We're playing defensively. We're playing scared. We should be going toe-to-toe with these teams. We're Manchester United. And now that we're finally doing that, people are saying, oh, why are we drawing these matches? I would rather counterattack and get a result. And, people's basically, unless we're winning these matches 6-0 with 85% possession, the Twitter fan base is never going to be satisfied. And that's one of the reasons why I say often that this fan base at times can be worse than the Glazers, because the Glazers are draining money from the club. They've employed Ed Woodward, and those are long-term issues. But the Glazers aren't racially abusing Marcus Rashford. The Glazers aren't racially abusing Axel Tuanzebe. And those things reflect poorly on us as fans more so than our ownership does. Because people understand that obviously we're not the owners, and that financially we wouldn't run the club in the way that it's run. But when people look at the fan base and see the monkey comments on our Black players' Instagram pages, when people see racialized commentary or racialized abuse towards them, it really reflects badly on us as people, as a fan base. And I know Ali said that those people aren't United fans, but they claim to be United fans. And so it presents that view to the world. And it's ridiculous that a football match can make people reach those levels that obviously are completely unacceptable.
Yeah, that's not a footballing issue, is it? That's a people issue. Like you say, if a football game can make people go and attack people personally, then that is a societal issue. And it's so embarrassing for the fan base, because there's obviously an ongoing joke about, Chelsea fans being racist. I think a lot of it, obviously it comes from different things that have happened, but when that fan called Raheem Sterling something, I think that was when it became really, really big online. And now people see Chelsea fans as racists a lot of the time, and United fans are going to be seen like that. I don't want to be seen like that. I'm not a racist person, so it's so embarrassing when you see things like that online, and it doesn't reflect the fan base at all. It's just a small majority of kids with anonymous accounts with no accountability whatsoever. They want to get clicks and they want to get reactions because they're teenagers and that's what they do.
Yeah, a lot of these accounts, they have like 2-1 followers, and they're just completely, they're just doing it on purpose almost now to get.
They just want to get reactions out of people, don't they?
Yeah, to get reactions. And yesterday when the full-time whistle went, one of the thoughts in my head was they're going to get abused tonight.
Yeah.
And within an hour there were screenshots on Twitter, and
I didn't think they were going to do it again, because obviously the other night, with all the clubs in the Premier League, because I can't remember what was it a Fulham player got abused as well? Oh, West Brom player. Yeah. Obviously they United against racism. All the clubs sort of come together. Premier League got involved. So I did not think it was going to happen again. I was surprised that it did, but at the same time, I wasn't surprised.
and Reece James also.
Oh yeah.
I've been blocking a lot of the accounts that have been posting, I guess, commentary that's somewhat supportive of the actions of people who have gone ahead with this kind of abuse. And one of the trends I noticed was it tends to be people who are, and I say this as someone who's outside the UK myself, but it tends to be people who are outside the UK. It tends to be people who are maybe just trying to voice their anger from far away. And I've seen people say that, oh, it's just their anger and their frustration. They're not actually racists. And I can understand the point that they're trying to make. I think that they're not expressing hatred towards people because based on race. They're expressing hatred based on football and using race to get under people's skin. But either way, it's unacceptable. And even if the person isn't racist, the action is racist. And
Absolutely.
so we end up in this situation where the fan base is reflecting negatively upon itself. And the reason I brought it up, earlier, was I think it's directly linked to that issue you had mentioned, Dan, about how the fan base seems to go off at every bad result, even if we haven't lost in 3 months and we lost to Sheffield United and everybody lost their minds. I really think that it's not just racial abuse or that fans are getting or that the fans are going off the rails at one result. I think those are directly linked. I think the racial abuse is coming because people go off the rails at these results. So it's one of those things where the fan base A needs to develop patience and B needs to develop boundaries of what's considered civilized behavior.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
good point.
I don't think there's many people who can disagree with that. He's spot on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Of course,
Yeah,
I'm
he's
sorry
really-
to go off on that tangent, but it's just one of the things that really frustrated me, especially as a minority United fan myself, seeing the comments that were going around on social media. So I wanted to at least briefly touch on it.
I think they're
Okay.
essentially, sorry, one more thing. I think they're essentially just as bad in the sense of you made the distinction between if someone's actually racist or if it's a racist action because they're frustrated. I don't think either one's any better than the other. They're both equally as bad.
Yeah, for sure.
Even if you're
To be clear,
frustrated, as a player.
Sorry, just to be clear, I didn't mean to excuse one versus the other. I was just trying to kind of explain that strain of thinking from what I can gather.
Oh no, I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I think we're moving on to something a bit more positive. We don't want to keep it, too dark.
Yeah, Resurgent got him on there anyway, didn't
Yeah.
he?
Well, I say more positive, but the next sort of topic is like, what was the best and the worst performance? Because I feel like some players are quite, they're doing well, but some players obviously aren't. I think a couple you want to talk about Martial. Was it Josh? Go on, the floor's yours.
Anthony Martial. I'm struggling with him, to be honest. Your eyes don't lie to you, as Roy Keane likes to say, and I just don't feel like he's giving 100% effort. Obviously, we're not getting a bird's eye view of the match, so we only see what's in our screen. And I just don't feel like when he's in the screen, he's running enough. He's tracking back. We all saw the videos after the Sheffield United game, and usually the videos don't tell the whole story, like with the Rashford chance yesterday. But just the drop of the shoulders and the lazy slouching when he loses the ball. He lost it in so many times in transition against Sheffield United. I just don't think he's got his spark at the moment, and it's just completely gone since we've restarted. In lockdown, he was unplayable. We signed another striker, and he's just gone back into his shell. I don't know. Solskjaer believes in him. Obviously, he loves him. He always speaks positively about him. So I trust Solskjaer's judgment, but I'm just really not sure. I don't know what his best position is. I don't know what his best attributes are. And he's becoming a bit of a one-trick pony, to be honest.
See, I'd argue that his demeanour I think he's always been like this. He's always looked like his disinterest is in sort of a Berbatov sort of way. But obviously it gets highlighted a lot more when we play poorly. I mean, last season as a 9, like you mentioned, he was unplayable. He was fantastic as a 9. And it just makes me wonder whether he is a confidence player, because obviously when he brought in Agallo, he knew that he was never going to face any real competition for that starting 9 spot. But obviously now Cavani's come in, one of the most prolific strikers there's ever been. It makes me think, is he just sitting there going, oh, he's brought in now, he's going to challenge me for my spot, so I'm going to sulk about it. Do you know what I'm saying? I've always thought he was better off the left as a winger anyway, because his dribbling's brilliant and he's really quick. But last season he was good and he can play the 9. I think he's got so much talent, but he's so out of form, and you just want to shake him. Although I do think after obviously in the Sheffield United game when he did look really, slouching the shoulders. He didn't want to track back. I felt when he come on yesterday, he did track back a lot better. So I think Ollie definitely had words with him after that and said to him, that's not acceptable. So I think he did okay yesterday, better than the Sheffield United game anyway. But he is frustrating because he can do it. You just want to shake him, wake up.
Yeah.
I don't think it's in any doubt that he's a confidence player. We look back, his form slouched whenever we've signed a striker. It went down when we signed Romelu Lukaku, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and now Cavani.
Yep.
So I think anytime you give him genuine competition, his form seems to fall off. But the problem is it's not just that, okay, we have to get around that somehow. That's a major issue when you're at a club like United, because if you look back at our history, we signed Tevez in 2007, I think. We signed Michael Owen in 08, I think Berbatov in 09, or I might have those years backwards. And then we signed Chicharito in 2010, 2012, Robin Van Persie. Players come into this club, strikers, every year or two. That's just a reality of being here. And if Martial can't cope with that, it's a major issue to his future going forward. Personally, I also agree that he's better coming in off the left. I was a big supporter of trying this experiment of Martial up front last season because he was more clinical than Rashford, but he hasn't developed the same movement as a Cavani for me. And, that little bit extra seeing Cavani every time we play with him, it tells me that Martial's future really isn't up top. And for me, the future for him at Manchester United is going to be as Marcus Rashford's backup, basically, on the left wing.
Mm.
One of the things that worried me quite a bit for his form is when, like for instance, when he played a ball that wasn't on to Shaw, and then Shaw didn't make the run because it wasn't on, and then he starts blaming Shaw rather than looking at himself. And that's never a good sign when the player's trying to blame someone else.
Yeah,
I kind of think there's two approaches that you could have of dealing with Martial like this, where you either try and play him back into form, which I think Ollie's tried, and it's not really working. So I think we're now at the stage where you might have to give him a game or two on the bench to really say, this isn't good enough. Let someone else have a turn and see if they can do better.
I agree with when you said play himself back into form, because I think Ollie quite likes doing that. Like when De Gea was dropping clangers, he played him. He shows faith in the players, and I think that really gives them a confidence boost, and it can work. They can play themselves back into form. But
I'm sorry, so when De Gea was dropping clangers, has that ever stopped after on the basis of the Sheffield United match?
He's gotten better.
Yeah, I think he's done all right this season, to be honest. Better than last year.
Have you guys listened to the Jake Humphrey podcast with Ollie Gunnar?
The high performance
I didn't mean to.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So he actually says during that, Jake Humphrey says, what's his process of this kind of situation? And I might get a bit of this wrong, but he was saying he first sees if the player's blaming other people, which Martial seemingly does on the pitch. And then he gives them a chance to prove him wrong, which he has done by trying to play him through the bad form. And then, as Daniel's just said about putting him on the bench, maybe shocks him into life. And then if this doesn't work, he slowly starts to wean them off, he says. That's his exact words, wean them off. He did it with Dalot. That's what my opinion with Dalot was, that Ole Gunnar he was blaming other people maybe in training, or I remember when against Everton, Dalot actually played, and Ole Gunnar said, I'm going to be successful here. And there's people out there who won't be. I assume Dalot was one of them. So
Lukaku,
and I think Matic actually was. I think Matic actually earned Ole Gunnar's trust back from that moment. But yeah, I think Martial's in stage 3 of the 4 stages. So let's see what happens next.
That Matic example is quite an important one as well, because it shows that it's not just once you're on this process, you're out. It's not that. You have a chance. You can turn this around.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think he's always willing to give players a second chance. I think that's because of his brilliant man management. He's always willing to give players chances. I think we've seen that with Jesse Lingard, although it's slightly different. I think that was more of his personal problems that sort of got in the way. But I think he's been through one of those processes. I mean, obviously he's gone out on loan now, and
One of the concerns I have, though, is if Martial's form is dropping off every time you bring in competition or things get tougher for him, I don't know how he's going to respond to being on the bench for a prolonged period of time again. I know that Mourinho put him there when he was younger, but I feel like that was something where he started off on the bench under Mourinho. It wasn't as though he lost Mourinho's confidence. He never had it to begin with. Whereas now he feels as though he's losing the manager's confidence by being on the bench. And I don't know if he's the right type of character to respond to that. I'm also in favor of dropping him, obviously, based on his recent form and trying to see what happens. But I'm just worried that Martial's not the type of character who's going to respond positively to this.
It's like when Mourinho was going up, we was throwing Shaw under the bus, essentially, and that actually did work for Luke Shaw, but that's because he's got that sort of character. But I'd actually agree with you. I don't think Martial would respond well to that, because if he's sulking and if he's well out of form, because we signed a half-decent striker in Cavani, if you're putting him on the bench, he might be looking away for a move, you know.
That puts us in a really difficult position because we need that competition for places, and you've got to play the player who's in form, and you can't start someone for a long period of time who's out of form. Like, I get you might want to play him into form, you might give him a few games for that, but that can only last so long. At some point, you have to say, this isn't working, someone else needs to come in.
Yeah, I mean, you only need to look at Luke Shaw this season with Alex Telles and how much having that competition there has pushed him on. He's been the best left back in the Premier League for me this season. I mean, obviously that's, it's down to him, but there's obviously got to be factors with Telles coming in, giving him that competition, and he's probably taught him a lot with the set pieces as well, which have been really good this season as well, and he's made a lot of chances.
Yeah, I think it's about the type of player we're talking about, because I think Martial is more of a confidence player, but I think Luke Shaw is the sort of player who will respond better to maybe going on the bench or getting some competition. I think, I do think he's a striker because I think his best attribute is finishing. I mean, this season, of course, he's lacking confidence. He's probably been one of the worst finishers, but normally, honestly, he's one of the best finishers in the league, if not the world. So
yeah, he is a great finisher. I do agree with that. He's just really out of form. He's so frustrating because you know how good he can be as well. But
what a goal! Sorry,
what happened?
Patrick Bamford scored.
Was it 2-1?
Yeah, 2-1. Sorry.
That's good for us. Keeps us in second.
Yeah, my fantasy team. That was a great goal. Yeah, I think Luke Shaw Army deserves a lot of credit for Luke Shaw's form. A lot of encouragement, and they've always remained the same on his ability. With Martial, I think Ole Gunnar is probably the best man manager in the league. How he has got Pogba to be one of the heartbeats of the team after what happened in December. A lot of people
that's sensational, isn't it? You thought there was no coming back from that.
I didn't think there was. I thought it was going to be a lingering problem. I thought he could have been sold in January, to be honest. That's how.
Yeah, I thought that.
Without Ole, it could have easily been a Ozil situation if we weren't careful. But because of Ole, he's ensured that doesn't happen.
Absolutely, and I think Ole is not sacrificing his dignity for 6 months, but I think I still don't buy into these contract talks or he's really happy here again. He's leaving in the summer. There's no doubt about that for me. And Ole has just said, listen, give us your best for 6 months. We'll get you the best club, and thank you for your service.
I mean, at the end of the day, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will always do what's best for this club rather than himself. He got a lot of stick for playing him against Leipzig, because I think it was just before that game, wasn't it, that happened? And obviously Ole, he got so much stick for putting Pogba in that side, but he does recognise that he is one of the best players at this club. I mean, based on talent, so he will always do what's best. And if he feels that that's putting Pogba in the side, at the end of the day, he is one of the best players at this club, and he's not going to care what shit's thrown at him as long as the team gets the best result that it can. He's always willing to sacrifice himself for that.
I think Klopp said that, didn't he? He said Ole Gunnar is a Man United man, so he's always going to do what's best for Manchester United, which is very, 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 very true.
Yeah, he'll always sacrifice himself for the good of the club.
Always.
I don't know if it was true or not, but I saw something where it was like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is open to the idea of leaving at the end of the contract because he realizes that maybe a new manager come in would help the club even more than him staying, because maybe he sees his job more of as a rebuild job. I'm not sure. Personally, I think he'd stay and do really well, but
I don't
buy that now.
Me neither.
I think it's just media reporting on, they asked Ollie recently in a press conference about if he'd started negotiations for a new contract, and he said they hadn't started yet. And I think the media is just trying to rationalize that so that they can have another few articles on the basis of, oh, who's the next manager going to be in the summer of 2022? Yeah. And it's just one of those things where as long as Ollie does his job, I think he's going to be here for a long time to come. We know the Glazers only care about finishing top 4. So as long as he's doing that, he's going to be in a job. And as far as the fan base is concerned, apart from the Twitter Reds who get upset every time we don't win a match, I think broadly speaking, the fan base is behind Ollie. The stadium, when it's full again, will be behind the manager. And I don't think he sees himself as a transitional manager. I think he sees himself as someone who, if things go well, can be here for 5, 10, 15 years.
Yeah,
that's what hurts the most, that the fans aren't there to show the support and how far this project has come. It is kind of beautiful that the last game was that City game. I think that kind of set us up for the rest of the season, even though lockdown happened. But I just wish the fans were allowed in the stadium so they could back the manager and vocally. And I'd say this is the best United team since Ferguson left.
Absolutely, and definitely the best squad.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah,
I think it's so vital that our form has been so strong during lockdown, especially because if you look at the reasoning behind the sacking of Frank Lampard, now one of the things that Abramovich looked at was the fact that fans are not in the ground, so they can't provide the kind of backlash that they normally would in the stadium. When Mourinho left, there were banners about 3 rats, Costa, Fabregas, and I can't remember who the third one was. But basically, they were targeting their players and they were showing their strength, their support for the ex-manager. And I think if United's form had tailed off during lockdown and we hadn't made top 4, or right now how we're in the top, we're second right now, but if we had seen that, if we had been struggling for that, if we were still stuck in 7th, 8th, 9th, I think the Glazers would have acted now just to get around the fans. And so it's vital that our form stays strong while the fans are not in the ground.
That's true.
I would agree with that. So in terms of Southampton, I think that's on Tuesday, right? So it's obviously going to be a difficult game. The title, I think if we drop points, the title is sort of slipping away in that sort of situation. But I mean, obviously there's a lot of games to play, but I think it's really important that we get the result at Southampton.
Yeah, it's not only for the title as well. It's the fan base. I mean, if we drop points, 3 games on the trot, I think things are really going to start to get toxic. And I can't see City slowing down. I mean, they're only getting better. They're banging form at the moment.
You look at their fixtures, though, they've been playing against Sheffield United, West Brom, Fulham. They're going to have, I think Burnley is next. But then if you look at their fixtures starting in about a week from now, they've got Liverpool, Spurs, and then Arsenal, Wolves, West Ham, and us in a 5-match period. And I think that's going to be what's more telling than the fact that City can beat the bottom 5 teams 3 or 4-0. I mean, we're used to that from years and years.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think it's important that we win our next 3 games, which is Southampton, Everton, West Brom, in the league anyway. Just to keep pace with City and those below us, maybe try and create a tiny bit of a gap, because City are going to drop points soon. There's no doubt about that. So we just need to keep pace for now. So it's a massive game on Tuesday.
That's the. I mean, as long as we stay in amongst it, then anything can happen, especially when they got that tough run, which you said I didn't realise they had to go through that. So as long as we sort of keep pace with them, we don't drop off too much, we stay in amongst it. I mean, you never know what could happen. I mean, why can't this team challenge for the title in this mental season?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to move on to we've already started the Southampton preview, but we're going to move on to the starting 11. As you can see, we've got a new debutant who's joined a bit late. Say hi, Corey.
Hello, mate. How are you?
Good. So we're gonna talk about our starting 11s. So obviously De Gea in goal. I don't know. Maybe someone has a debate for Henderson. I don't know. But what would you say, Daniel? The first Daniel.
What, me
Not,
or?
not Apollo. Yeah.
Oh, no, I think you got to keep Dave in goal. I think obviously Henderson's a fantastic keeper, but for now he is still the number 2. I feel like he's getting plenty of game time in the cups. And when he has played, he's been good, but I don't think he's done anything to dislodge Dave from his starting position yet.
No.
But yeah, I think we keep Dave in number 1 spot for now.
Yeah. So I
I'm going
mean,
to disagree with that, to be fair.
yeah. I mean, Luke Shaw is obviously. You could say Alex Tellez. We can rotate, but personally, I would keep him in. Wan-Bissaka, you've got to keep him in as well. Maguire. I think our best partnership is Maguire and Bay. You know, Twansby potentially could be it. Lindelof. He's having back issues. I'm not sure if he can play twice in a week at the moment. So we'll keep an eye on him, I suppose. But I don't think he'll play. What's your guys' thoughts on the defense? Do you want to go, Corey?
In my head, I was thinking Maguire and Bai to give Lindelof a bit of a rest, and obviously
Yeah.
we can't use Twansby yet because he's still developing, so we need time. You can't use him week in, week out. I don't think he's quite ready for that, same as Henderson. But Southampton, I'm not. It's tough because they've had a very good season. You can't deny that. But I think
They're
he'll
a top team.
stick with Maguire and Bai.
That's definitely our best centre-half partnership.
Yeah.
I think it depends on which Eric Bailly is showing up, though. There's the Eric Bailly who played against Tottenham earlier this season, who was an absolute liability. There's the Eric Bailly who played in Paris for 30 minutes and then had to come off. He was an absolute liability there. And then there's the Eric Bailly who played the last 5-6 matches he started, who's been absolutely world-class in that time frame. So I think with Eric Bailly, he is, first of all, he's inconsistent with his form. He's patchy. And then second of all, he's more injury prone than Evil the Knievel himself. So we have to consider the fact that his minutes have to be managed, and also Lindelof's with the back injury. So I think most of the rest of the season, we're going to see Ollie pick Bailly one match, Lindelof the other, and I think it's Bailly's turn.
Yeah,
So-
I can't disagree with that. Good point.
So, I mean, go on.
Sorry, can I just? I've been trying to say for like 5 minutes. I disagree with Dan on Henderson and De Gea. I think Henderson, when he came on against Southampton, we looked so much more comfortable on set pieces and the free kicks that they was troubling with us with before De Gea went off. And Arsenal tried to target De Gea yesterday. Sheffield United targeted De Gea, and it's probably becoming a bit of a theme, to be fair.
Especially consider. Go on, sorry.
Go on, no, you go.
Especially just building on your point that it's Southampton and Southampton have Ward-Prowse, so
Exactly.
we kind of need Henderson will be a big help against that delivery.
I think
I
so
think
too.
the issue with dropping David De Gea here is you can't drop him for a league match unless you're willing to commit to going with Dean Henderson moving forward, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Goalkeepers' confidence shouldn't be undermined that way. Personally, I would go with Dean Henderson moving forward, but I don't think Ollie's considering that at all.
Nah.
Oh yeah, what we think Ollie should do is very different to what we think he will do.
Of course.
Also, there was some talk about how great Southampton are, and while they were earlier in the season, I just want to point out they've won one of their last 8 league matches. That was Liverpool, admittedly, but it's been 1 of 8, so their form is tailing off.
They were brilliant though last night. I thought they should have won that game, to be fair.
They were robbed. They were absolutely robbed.
I don't know about the second half, but I don't think Ward-Prowse was even on set piece on the corners last night because he was playing right back.
He was deep, wasn't he? He was deep last night.
Yeah. So I think they've got a few injury problems. I think ever since Danny Ings has had this article come out where apparently he wants to play for a Champions League club, the form has started to tail off a little bit, and Hasenhüttl started crying because they beat Liverpool. I think they might have maybe hit their peak, hopefully, because we need to beat them at Old Trafford, which we didn't do last season. So yeah, and I would go for Bailly, Wan-Bissaka, Shaw, and Maguire too.
It's not just on Tuesday. I don't think it's just about winning the game. I think this side could really do with a comprehensive, convincing win rather than. I mean, I know the odd goal wins you the league. Obviously, I know that, but I think just to quiet everyone down a bit, so everyone calms down about where we're at right now. I think a convincing win, maybe even a 2-0, we just shut them out and we sort of look composed in the game. I think that's the best thing that we could do right now. Is a nice convincing win against a half-decent side.
That's what we wanted against Sheffield United, wasn't it?
It was.
We just wanted a nice little 3-0 win.
Yeah.
Bed early, but no, up all night
Doesn't
thinking
really
about it.
What you want? No.
Head was hot.
So I think we'll move on to the midfield. I think Pogba needs a rest personally. What do you guys think? Resurgent gone?
For me, one of the great things about having Paul Pogba only for the next 6 months is, and this is somewhat selfish, or it is entirely selfish.
Run him into the ground.
Basically, yeah, we don't have to worry about his long-term well-being. He's not going to be here. So I would play Pogba and Matic. We need the extra creativity, honestly. And Pogba's been in decent form, so why not keep playing him? We don't have to worry about how is Paul Pogba going to be in 2 years' time if we keep playing him the way we do with Bruno Fernandes. He's a 6 month. We can treat him like a loan player, basically. And so for me, you play Pogba and Matic tomorrow, and then McFred against Everton in the next outing.
From a Matic perspective, though, would you not be a bit worried against Southampton's press?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. They do press really high, and our back line isn't the best when pressed. Although yesterday in the Arsenal game, I think they did really well out of pressure, and they passed in triangles to sort of get out. So it is getting better, but yeah, I would agree with the Matic pace.
The problem is Scott McTominay came off injured, didn't he? So we have we
should be okay. It was only diarrhea or something, wasn't it?
Even if
it looked like it.
Even if he's all right, I'm a little bit concerned about playing him in this match. Like we said, one of Southampton's biggest threats is set pieces, and I think Matic offers more on set pieces than Scott McTominay does.
I don't know. I think for me, for all the stick that these pretty fans like to give to McFred, they never get outworked. They're constantly running, being physical. They never. Yeah, sometimes they lose the ball. I was really frustrated with Fred, for example, yesterday, but they never let people run by them easily. I forgot who said it, but the reason that McFred and McTominay sometimes look like headless chickens is because the wingers aren't tracking back, so they're having to do different jobs that aren't their own and other players. But for me, I would play McTominay and Fred in this game for sure to give us a little platform, which we didn't have versus Sheffield United.
Do you reckon Van de Beek would be in contention for this one?
He's not if he's not replacing Bruno.
Yeah, he didn't do too well at St Mary's. Did he get subbed at half time or not?
He hasn't done anything to suggest that he should be starting, which is a bit of a shame. But I'm sure he will in future. But every time he has played and Bruno hasn't, obviously he's not going to have the same effect as Bruno has anyway, because his stats are incredible. But yeah, like I just said, he hasn't really done anything to suggest that he's really fighting for the spot. I mean, it might be, but he's not dislodging Bruno Fernandes anytime soon anyway.
One of the issues, the reasons why Van de Beek I don't think has impressed as much as a lot of fans were hoping is I do think we've misused him at times, to play him in the pivot, or even at number 10 when we use him, we expect him to be Bruno Fernandes or mini Bruno Fernandes. He's not that type of player. Van de Beek at Ajax, his best attribute is finding space between players, getting in the box, getting those simple assists with tap-in, with just cutting it across the box or scoring tap-ins. That's the kind of thing he's good at. He's a space interpreter. He's like a mini Thomas Muller type of player, or a Dele Alli. He's not someone who's going to dictate the game. He's not somebody who's going to play those early balls that Bruno does, 30, 40 yards in the air, straight over the top of defenses. It's not his style of play. And the fact that I think a lot of fans, or even Ollie at times, seem to expect that from him. It's not what he's done. It's not what he does. It's not something that's in his toolkit. And if that's what we're looking for, then we should have never signed him. If you want to get the most out of Donny Van de Beek, we have to adapt the way that the team sets up when he starts.
think part of that is why in the cup games he does so well with Mata, because Mata can provide the creativity and he can find the space for Mata to find him in. Whereas in the first team, in the league games, if Van der Beek starts instead of Bruno, then you don't have because Mata can't play in the Premier League, you don't have that creativity to find him. So you're not, like you said, you're not utilising his strengths.
There's a case for Mata to play anyway on Tuesday.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah.
I think we've missed him, to be honest. He comes in, has a great game, then doesn't play. I'm not saying he's unhappy with that role, but yeah, I do think we miss him a lot. But in the Premier League, he sometimes can be physically overrun, so it's a bit of a weird one.
I think that was definitely a case for him yesterday, because you know, no matter what age you are, you still keep the vision, don't you? And he's always been a magician and able to you know, to create space and see passes that others can't, and sort of link up with triangles with people. You know, I think that was definitely a case, especially in these Big Six games, because he can come in, he can definitely do a job.
See, I have to firmly disagree with you there. I think that there's a role for Juan Mata here, but the role is in matches where we have 65-70% possession, we're camped outside of someone's 18-yard box. That's really where I think Juan Mata shines. It's when we have the ball and we're looking for someone to make those little passes, to find the little spaces in someone's defense. The problem with playing him against Big Six sides is he doesn't have the legs to track back. And so we end up in a position where it's just Wan-Bissaka, for example, against, say, Gabriel Martinelli, and I know he wasn't playing yesterday, but Kieran Tierney. Or you could have, if we were playing in another Big Six match, you could have Benjamin Mendy and Raheem Sterling running at Wan-Bissaka. And as good as Wan-Bissaka is one-on-one, he still can't defend two players.
Yeah, I don't think he should be starting games like that. But a cameo towards the end when we are trying to break down these low blocks, I think that would
control the game as well, to come on, control things. Because I think Bruno's a better player with Juan too. I think intelligent players are much better together than they are apart. So
I'm surprised that we didn't use Juan Mata against Sheffield, mind.
Yeah, I thought we could have started Juan against Sheffield United.
I remember tweeting during the game that I wanted him to come on because it's just that sort of game is ideal for him.
Yeah.
Because we all knew Arsenal would be a very tough game, so why not use Mata for Sheffield and give someone like Bruno a rest, and start Bruno against Arsenal, or bring on Bruno at half time, whatever.
Sheffield are a very hard working side, though. I feel like Mata would have got ran all over that game.
True.
Yeah, he could have. I mean, but then when they started to go far back, I thought Juan, Donny, Dan James maybe, but that's in the past now, isn't it? We can't get them 3 points back.
I think when you play against a team like Sheffield and we lost, you know, I don't think it's really right saying, oh, we should have rested a couple more players, because it could have been even worse. And I think, you know, Bruno is probably our most important player. And he had his rest against Watford in the Cup. He had 90 minutes rest. Liverpool in the Cup, he had 65 minutes rest. You know, I think he's had enough rest. So, you know, I think he should be playing most of our games. But yeah, so are we thinking Matic, Pogba, or?
I think it's a bit of a split decision on this one. I'm gonna go with Josh. I'm gonna say McFred.
Yeah,
Fred, because we play Tuesday, Saturday, Tuesday. I think, and Matic was brilliant against Everton in the Cup, so he could play against Everton, because I think they're a very different team to Southampton.
What do you think about the new system we tried recently, where we have McFred but Pogba plays further forward on one of the wings?
Well, it's affecting Rashford, isn't it? I think Rashford's not as good on the right, obviously. I don't think it's as big as an issue as people are making out, but it is affecting him a little bit. But that might just be a narrative I'm buying into.
There have been 1 or 2 matches, though, where Ollie started Pogba on the right and Rashford on the left. And that way you don't affect Rashford. And I think that if we're going to play...
Police just been confirmed by the club.
Okay.
What?
No. Police to Alaves has been confirmed by United just now.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a sec. I mean, yeah, I think there is a case for Pogba on the left or the right. But I don't think he's best on the left wing, or certainly not the right wing. I think his best position is probably the left side of a midfield three.
I feel like Ollie's sort of shoehorning him in there at the moment because he wants to play further forward.
So.
And like you saw last night when he dropped back into the pivot, how he affected the game. And we did look a better side with him in that pivot. I don't think there's much of a case of him as a winger. I think he just wants to play further forward.
I think when you're playing a side like Southampton, I think Pogba he gets caught on the ball, and one of the stat where Southampton press the most out of any team in Europe, so it's going to be really, really difficult for Pogba because he is one of those guys who gets caught on the ball and takes too many touches. I think
they're going to press this high. We're going to want the pace on the counter attack, aren't we?
Yeah,
that could work as well.
But he's also very good at those over the top balls. He's one of our best passers, but he does get caught on the ball a lot. So
he's very suspect in our own half. He tries to do too much, and then he ends up getting pressed and losing the ball. That is one of my biggest gripes with Paul Pogba. Him with the ball in our half. My ass is clenching every time.
That's very true.
In terms of the forward line, do we think Rashford needs a rest? Because I don't know, he's been a bit off sorts. I don't think it's helping him being on the right wing.
No, he needs a goal. He doesn't need a rest. He needs a goal.
He needs a goal, and he also needs to play on the left again. He needs to be there. We can't keep trying to shoehorn in Anthony Martial. We can't keep trying to, give Pogba space on the left. Rashford should have that left wing slot as nailed as Bruno Fernandes has the number 10 role. We should be building around those two positions. The other two can change.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So, I would agree that then if we do ever play Pogba on the wing, again, before the end of the season, I'd just play him on the right wing because we need Rashford in his best position.
Absolutely. He's so much more effective coming in off the left and shooting with his right.
Yeah.
I think, I would agree.
I just think with this Rashford rest thing, people want to rest Rashford. They want to rest Martial. They want to rest Cavani because he's too old. Are we going to play Diallo and Greenwood?
In the dressing room. Give them a rest. They'll be all right. No, they don't need a rest. They need goals.
Yeah, they need goals. So my front three would be Rashford, Cavani, and Greenwood.
Yeah, me too.
I would agree. Yeah.
Because for me, that's my favourite front three because it's probably our most balanced one. Because Cavani's always at Greenwood, Rashford's on the left, and I love Mason Greenwood. So that's probably my favourite three.
We love Mason Greenwood.
So one name I'll toss in as a suggestion potentially instead of Edinson Cavani, because I think I would agree that's the front three I would play, but Ollie might consider that we can't play Edinson Cavani 3 times this week, and he might want to rest him in midweek. If he's going to rest Cavani, I might look at playing Greenwood, Rashford, and Dan James instead of Anthony.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Yeah, me too.
Go on, DJ.
He's got pace on the counter attack, which is good against their press. I mean, he hasn't played in a couple of weeks, and like you say, Cavani. Don't know if he can play the many games unless he plays Rashford through the middle. But I'd like to see Greenwood through the middle in his natural position and Rashford off the left where he's better.
I don't want to oversimplify. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I was going to say people have concerns about Dan James playing on the right, that he's out of position, and I agree that he's better coming off the left as a goal scorer. But last season in the first half of the season, one of our best routes towards goal was Dan James
and James the Rashford,
crossing it in a low cross towards Marcus Rashford, and then I think we scored 6 or 7 goals off of that. And that is something that we can be looking to exploit again against Southampton on Tuesday. So for me, I think ideally you play Greenwood, Cavani, and Rashford. But if the medical team and Ollie decide Cavani can't play 3 games this week, then Dan James over Anthony Martial for me.
Yeah. And I think defensively,
why not?
Teams can offer a lot as well, especially in a game which is going to be difficult. I think it's important to nullify a team like Southampton at times, and I think he will be really effective. But yeah, I think we can all agree on Rashford, Cavani, Greenwood, if all 3 are fit. So I wanted to
Oriol Romeo to get absolutely clattered.
I think their fullbacks are both injured too. I think Walker Peters might have COVID, and I'm not sure about Bertrand, but
They had a lot of injuries during their match against.
Yeah.
That would explain
they
why
have got
you
a long
said
injury list.
Ward-Prowse was at right back. That would explain
Yeah.
why.
And they were playing a centre back at left back, I think, at one point, and they've just loaned him out. So I don't know.
Saying that, but Sheffield United were down 9 players the other night, weren't they?
So we're Arsenal down
I'm looking at
3 of their 4 best players.
I'm looking at Premier injuries, and it looks like they're missing Salisu, they're missing Vestergaard, they're missing Willie Smallbone, and they're missing Walker Peters, and then potentially the ones from yesterday as well. So it looks like they're going to be down maybe half their starting 11 at this point. Although so were Arsenal, and we didn't win that.
If
Sheffield
Southampton's got
United
that big
not
injury
very
list, why didn't they go in from Brandon Williams for a short-term loan deal?
They want him.
I don't think Ollie wanted him to go, did he?
No, Ollie didn't want him to go.
Because
We weren't signing right back
he
this
gives
window.
support for both left back, right back options. He's not getting enough game time, so whether he's thinking keep him just in case for cup games or I don't know. It's interesting.
I think one of the concerns is that now that Timothy Fosu-Mensah has gone to Leverkusen, there's nobody to deputize for Wan-Bissaka. And so I think the reason why we're keeping Brandon Williams is that during the FA Cup matches or during the Europa League, we can play Brandon Williams at right back. The problem, of course, is I don't know if Ollie's actually going to follow through on that. He might just play Wan-Bissaka every match and run him into the ground.
Doubt it. I doubt it. I think we've got, because of the Europa League too, I think that's when we're going to see a lot of Brandon Williams, Dan James, Donny van der Beek. So yeah, let's see.
No, I think Phil Jones or Marcus Rojo win.
He's going to Boca Juniors then, and he going tomorrow or something?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
so, yeah.
I saw his agent on his Instagram, so it must be close.
They're both in Argentina at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, he's been playing like 5-a-side and everything.
Is he?
Yeah.
Mental bastard.
I think him and B would be the best centre-back partnership together.
No.
They just get-
You put them in an Argentinian side, they'd never get a card. Love it.
No, it's really good. I thought
I believe Rojo never got a sending off at United.
No.
I still
Oh,
can't
I
believe
cannot
that.
believe that stat.
No, it's
I
mad.
can name at least 3 tackles where he should have been straight red.
I know I watched a compilation of him the other day, just absolutely clattering people's ankles.
Terrible.
Yeah.
While we're on the topic, do you guys want to just go ahead and move on from Southampton and discuss the recent outgoings at the club?
Yeah, I mean, Pelestri has just been confirmed, as you said earlier. Was it Club Brugge or Deportivo?
He's gone Alaves.
Alaves, yeah, which is Deportivo, I think, yeah. So, what are we thinking about him? Because he came in, I think it was like 18 million. He's been in the under-23s. He's played quite well. But I just don't think there's enough room for him in the first team at the moment.
No, it's not.
No.
He's
Why
too
he's
good
gone
at
out
youth
on loan.
football, isn't he? I think this is Daniel's topic, so take it away.
I think that's just why he's gone out on loan. He's in that grey area of too good for academy football, not quite at the level for United yet. So he needs to go out somewhere he can play every week, and Alaves seemingly are willing to do that. So we've sent him there.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. He's too good for youth football, but I think also he needs in him some experience of first team European football, because obviously we got him from Argentina. Was it Uruguay? Uruguay. Yeah, so he's obviously never played in a first team squad in Europe, which will probably be considerably different to South American football. So he gets some minutes in him in Europe, and I think that'll do him good.
The only concern is he actually going to play? Because you look at the way United sorted out their loans in the first half of the season. Jimmy Garner worked out until they sacked their manager, admittedly. But Dylan Levitt didn't play. Tahith Chong barely played. Even Aliou Traore was at Caen in the second division in Ligue 2, and he barely played as well so far. So are we actually sorting out loans where these players will play? That's the big question.
I get the frustration, but I think that the club also deserve credit for not letting the situation continue until next season. They've realised in January, this isn't working. We've got to change something. And they went and sorted it out.
Yeah, I agree. I think the club do deserve credit for that.
I think this is very new territory for the club. We aren't known to do lots of loans, like Chelsea, for example. This is part of Nick Cox and Nicky Butt and I forget the other guy's name. The complete like regeneration of the academy. They want the young players to go out and experience men's football because the under-23 system really isn't working. The PL2 isn't working, and then they've started what used to be called the Johnson's Paint Trophy, where the teams play, and that's not really working either. So to get out and play men's football, whether it be in Spain or where else they've gone, is important. And I hope Ted and Mengi and Dylan Levitt get some loan deals as well before the window's over, and Galbraith too, because under 23s football.
It was quite telling that neither of them were involved in the game against Liverpool. They weren't even in the squad. So, and they didn't mention anything about any injuries. So I wonder if that means they are going out on loan.
Yeah, you'd hope so.
Yeah, so and it's obviously
not seen anything about. Sorry,
gone on loan as well. Yeah,
I've not seen anything about Mengi. Any clubs linked to Mengi, but I've seen a few linked to Dylan Levitt. Sorry,
I think Mengi's injured, isn't he?
I honestly don't know. I didn't see anything about it.
Yeah. Well, he hasn't been playing for the under-23s these last couple of matches, so I'm just assuming that the club aren't just saying, you know what, sit there and wait for a loan deal. I'm sure that if he was fit, he'd be playing in the under-23s.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, we've got Lingard who's just gone on loan to West Ham as well. I mean, the game's about to, for us, it's about to kick off in like 10 minutes, but obviously for the people watching, it probably already kicked off. But yeah, what are your thoughts on his loan? Because, I mean, it obviously wasn't quite working out. But do we think he's going to come back, or do we think he's going to get sold to West Ham?
Back. Let's just
he's not coming back.
People looked at all these quotes and started freaking out. He said the same thing about Alexis Sanchez, that he's going to come back and prove all he was wrong. And then 6 months later, he was out of the club and we'd paid him to leave. So it's not as though he was actually ever planning on bringing Alexis back. All his man management involves bigging up his players, even ones who have left on loan. And that's just all that was. I'm really happy he's gone on loan to West Ham specifically, though, because for me, one of the big summer priority targets for United now that Lampard is gone should be Declan Rice. And if Jesse Lingard has a great 6 months, they want to sign him permanently, maybe we can include him in that deal, knock off some of the valuation. So I'm very happy, first of all, that he's gone on loan, because it means there's going to be more chances for the likes of Amad Diallo, for the likes of Donny van de Beek. But other than that, longer term, I think this is the best club for United that he could have gone to as well, with regards to future transfer business.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'm really happy for him, and I really hope he does well. Although, you know, with a player like this, homegrown player, you sort of can't help feeling upset. But you know, because we've sort of watched him develop, and you know how good he can be. In the 17-18 season, he was fantastic. And if you picked out his best moments, you'd think he was the best to ever do it with some of the goals that he scored. Honestly, but I suppose when you take titles, there's no room for sentimentality, is there really? So it's a shame, but I really hope he does do well.
Yeah,
could have used Lionel Jesse at the Emirates yesterday.
Yeah.
I think the situation with Jesse and Alexis is very different. I think in an ideal world, Ole Gunnar would have Jesse back at Old Trafford, and because I think he loves him. The fans, I'm trying to think of the right word, but suddenly now he's going out on loan. Everyone loves him. When they've been slating him for months upon months and not understanding the situations that he was in. But like Dan just said, it's always upsetting when a player you've seen grow and grow leave the club, and he gave us so many good moments. So.
He is a Premier League caliber player as well. He's not one of these that's going to fade into the background, especially at age 28. I think he's going to go on to have some level of success, a little bit like Johnny Evans, honestly, when he left United.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'd be going for like an hour, 20 minutes, something like that. So I think we might as well.
Before we sign off, though, can we talk about, for a couple of minutes, Amad Diallo's debut for the under-23s? Obviously, he scored 2 goals, and one of them was a Panenka penalty. The first one, he nicked the ball off Billy Cometio for the.
Yeah, I saw that.
So if we could start off with our lone expert, or even our under 23s expert, Paulo, and then kind of just see what we all thought of that.
I think he showed what we expected, that he's too good for the under 23 level, but it wasn't about that. It was about match fitness. It was about him settling in. So that was why he played, not because ability dictated him going into the 23s. So yeah, I don't think it'll be very long until he makes his senior debut at all. I think Ollie just wants to get him comfortable at the new club, and then he'll be straight in.
Yeah, I mean, I think realistically, we all expected him to play a few games with the under 23s anyway, because you can't really just throw him into the first team. So I'm glad he's getting minutes with them. He's getting his match fitness. But admittedly, after yesterday, is very, very exciting. I can't wait to see him to move up.
For me, the telling contribution was less the 2 goals themselves and actually more. I think it was Hugel's goal to make it 3-2. I might be wrong about that, but basically Diallo cut in from the right-hand side, and he could have had a shot, which is, I think, what Tahith Chong or Facundo Pellistri would have done. And instead, he looked on the left. He saw that Alvaro Fernandez was coming in to the box. He played the ball to him, and that set up, and then Fernandez was able to cut it back so Hugel could score. And I think that's one of those decision-making points that a lot of young players quite haven't mastered yet. They're trying to go for the spectacular, make their name get in the first team. And I think Diallo had the presence of mind to say, no, I'm going to do what's best for the team. And that presence of mind is, I think, going to really bear well for him in the future.
Just building on that, it was clear throughout the game, he's always got his head up. He's not got the tunnel vision that a lot of young players have. He's always looking around, seeing what's my options, what can I do? Whereas a lot of young players have their head down and just want to be on the ball themselves.
Yeah. That seems like the Atlanta school of thought, really, from what I read in the United Arena document that they made about him. He always plays with his head up, good at pressing when it's him who loses the ball. It's exciting because Ollie was asked about it, wasn't he, before the game, and that never usually happens about an under-23s match. So there's a lot of excitement building with Diallo, and I was really impressed with Hugel too. So
Hugel was absolutely fantastic. Ollie actually brought him up when they asked him about Diallo. He mentioned, well,
Yeah,
he got 4 goals. And I think at 17, the fact that we signed him for £300,000 and he's already performing at this level where he's consistently a threat at the under 23s, I think he's one to watch for a lot of United fans moving forward, especially if you look at the timing with Cavani. His contract will be up in 18 months. We're going to need another striker at that point. I think within the next year to 2 years, we might see a Mason Greenwood style gradual introduction for Joe Hugel.
Good enough. You're old enough.
And then you've got Charlie McNeil below him, who scores goals for fun. So it's exciting, to be honest.
I hope now he's moved up to the 23s full time, because at the moment Hugel's kind of doing part under 18s, part under 23s. I think he's now shown he's ready for the under 23s full time.
That's good.
I would agree. I think we'll end it then. Why not start why not end with predictions? Personally, I would go with 2-1 United. I mean, you've got to be positive. I'm not that confident, to be honest, but do you want to go first, Resurgent?
Yeah, I'll say 3-1 United.
Josh?
7-2 United.
I'd love to see that.
No, I'm going to go with 2-0.
Guys, quickly.
Corey?
2-0 United.
Apollo?
I'll go with the 3-1 United as well.
And then Daniel?
3-1.
Okay. We'll wrap it up there. Thanks everyone for watching. Hit a like and subscribe. That will really help us out. And we'll see you again soon.